Am I the asshole for screaming and crying at my son's accident? I, 26 female, have a 4-year-old son. We were celebrating my husband's birthday, so a good few people were at our house. We have a shaky old bookshelf that we use for old VHS movies that has fallen down twice now. We've been meaning to get rid of it, but we've decided to focus on our living situations first. My son was laying down on his back, with his feet to the bottom of the shelf out of boredom, while I was deciding on a position for the couch. A small earthquake happened, and it began to fall towards him. I screamed, admittedly loud, threw myself over the couch and pulled him out of the way by his arm. He just laughed and called me Girl Flash because I was fast, and I just held on to him and began to cry. People who had heard my scream were in the room now, and he explained what happened. My sister reassured me and said to stop crying, but I couldn't. She got annoyed after a bit and said I was being dramatic, and he was fine. I said rather harshly, "You watch that shelf almost fall on your daughter and just go back to normal." She said, "Just as you as ever," and left me alone. When my husband came back from his dad taking him for his birthday gift, he was console shopping during the incident, my sister said, "Sorry about her, you're in for a hell of a marriage." He asked what she was talking about. Noticing I was still misty-eyed, I explained, and he just said nothing, put the VHS tapes in a box, and dragged the shelf to the garage, and locked it. He asked to not invite her places again. I feel like I ended his birthday on a sour note. Am I the asshole? Not the asshole. It's adrenaline. It affects people differently, but there was nothing unusual in your response. Mothers have been known to lift cars off of children. It's a thing. It's the adrenaline. There's not a person on this earth who can control it. OP's sister sounds horrible. I'd minimize contact with her. Not the asshole. It doesn't even sound like your husband is upset. He seems very level-headed about this incident. Your sister dredged up her history with you to make this a bigger deal than it needed to be. Pretty clear hubby thinks the only problem is the sister and the shelf. Yes, I think he's more upset that his child could have been hurt, and he didn't get rid of the shelf sooner. He may be blaming himself, but boot the sister. I think this depends on what you were doing with your son after the fact. Did you let him go after hugging him, or did you hold on to him for an extended period of time, crying? The reason I ask, and I might get downvoted for this, your reaction can be more traumatic to your kid than the actual incident. If you're going to have an extended big reaction, again, justifiable, it's best to take a few minutes in private. I used to teach swim lessons. Kids sometimes fell in the pool or went in too deep and got scared. Their parents would have a huge reaction after the fact, and the kid would be scared of the water in a disproportionate amount. Am I the asshole for working less after my divorce, even though it means my ex gets less child support? For the last 10 years, I have been working my ass off to earn money so my family could enjoy an excellent standard of living. This was apparently the wrong thing to do, since it led to my wife deciding that since I was never home, she should bang other dudes. When I work out of town, I earn about $240,000 a year. Where I live, child support for 2 kids is about $3,300 monthly. With that salary, since my divorce, I went to 50-50 custody, and I work in town, so I only earn $100,000 yearly. So my child support is actually only $800 a month. My ex is going nuts because she isn't getting what she thought she would. My lawyer has tried explaining that child support is based on income, and since I am not working crazy hours to make lots of money for vacations and a huge house I don't need, I do not earn as much. She is telling everyone what an asshole I am for cutting back on my work to deprive my kids. That is bullshit. I have my kids half the time, and since I cannot be out of town, I earn less. My kids have everything they need. Am I the asshole? You're cutting your hours to be there for 50-50 custody. And because it's 50-50, you don't need the extravagant lifestyle choices. You cut back hours to be there for your kids more and live a more normal standard of living. Not the asshole. If you would have said you cut your hours strictly to avoid CS, then why WBTA? But be forewarned, she could appeal it and go back to court and get a ruling on assumed income and tell them you cut your hours to avoid paying. So watch what you post and how you phrase it completely. All the extra income was from overtime. I cannot be forced to work overtime. And you had to cut out traveling for work so you can have your kids 50% of the time. So you had to adjust your schedule to accommodate tour time with your children. Not the asshole. Your wife has to deal with the consequences of her actions. Does your ex-wife work? I feel that's a stupid question. Not the asshole. She wanted you to be more present for your kids. You were doing that. I don't understand why you have to pay child support at all if you have 50% custody. Well, that's another episode of Am I the Asshole in the books. I really appreciate all of you who made it this far into the video. Of course, if you enjoyed this video, it would really help the channel out a lot if you gave the video a thumbs up, subscribe, or leave a comment down below. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.